What's up, Jet Nation? Seems it's time to talk about Sam Darnold and what his value might be. Let's get into it when I get back. That's right, Jet Nation. I am GreenBean. I am here in the middle of Florida having a hot, lazy day in the Florida sun. As you can see, the pool behind me, it is scorching today. It's probably almost 90 degrees, hot, humid, sunny. Oh, I'm sorry, you're up there in the freezing snow. Most of you, I'm sorry about that, but that's what's going on. I want to remind you, please like and subscribe to Jet Nation on YouTube, jetnation.com, the world's largest independent fan site. There's no other team in any other locale that has a larger, more robust fan site than we do right here at jetnation.com. If you want to check out my podcast, that's over there on GreenBean Jets Fan YouTube channel. And you can find me on Instagram, GreenBean the Jets Fan, and Twitter at Being the Jets Fan. All that aside, let's get into Sam Darnold, shall we? There are factions in Jet Nation right now. Some want to keep Sam, think, hey man, give him a team for once. Give him real coaching. We already have a quarterback coach, which is more than Sam's had over his entire NFL career in the NFL. You know, Jeremy Bates didn't have a quarterback coach either. So we've had this interesting collection of individuals for Sam Darnold that didn't believe in having a coach for the position of quarterback. Wacky. So when you look at how Patrick Mahomes was running for his life in the Super Bowl and how ineffective he was, people argue that's been Sam Darnold's whole career. How can you expect him to do anything? And that we should actually keep him, use the capital that we have, and build around him, which makes sense. But you have another faction, which is saying Sam Darnold has regressed way past the excuse of his personnel could support, and that it's time to move on because it's the year you have to make a decision on his fifth-year option. So they would like to move on, and it just so happens that right around now we're hearing rumors that Sam Darnold's value is more than we thought it would be right around the back end of the first round or early part of the second round, which if his play was any indicator, even guys like myself who do support Sam, I was thinking, man, his value might not be a third round pick. He's playing so poorly. Remember, Joe Flacco came in and moved the ball. When Sam Darnold came back, it was right back to the breaks, man. We weren't able to do a damn thing. So it really looked like Sam Darnold was not worth much. But it turns out that we're hearing a lot about these late first round picks. So let's take a look at the potential teams that could trade for Sam Darnold. Now, just before we do that, we're going to look at there have been some other trades, namely the Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff trade. I don't think it has really much to do, especially when you look at value for Sam Darnold. But Matthew Stafford warranted Jared Goff, 2 firsts, and a third. Now they're future firsts. So, well, the second one is a future first. So that's, that would drop its value a little bit, but it's still a first round pick. And they got a third round as well. But as we've probably talked about before, you've heard, it really wasn't so much the value for Stafford. Stafford's value was pretty much a first and a third. They got the extra first over there in Detroit for assuming the Jared Goff contract, which the Rams just did not want to play with anymore. They were done. So I think that was almost like a favor. It's really only a 1-year deal. It has more years attached to it, but they can get out of it next year. There are dead cap penalties, but it's not anything that's prohibiting. So more than likely, unless Jared Goff comes out and lights it up, he's going to be a Detroit Lion for 1 year. And they'll get a first for taking that off the Rams' docket. So, but that did happen. And there's also the Carson Wentz rumors. There are rumors that Carson Wentz is gaining interest with the Bears and the Indianapolis Colts. So both of them would like to grab Carson Wentz. But don't forget, Carson Wentz's contract is pretty bad too. It's not exactly team friendly. So that's a pretty negative aspect of his trade value, but it seems the Eagles are rumored to be holding to 2 first-round picks for Carson Wentz. After the year he's had and the inability to stay healthy, I don't know how they can hold to that. If they do, I don't think anybody's going to trade for him. But the rumor is that both the Colts and the Bears are offering at least a first-round pick. I just don't think they're really into the idea of trading 2 firsts for Carson Wentz. But it does show something. It signifies that the value for the quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, even though they're having a tough time, is greater than we thought during the last season. So guys like Carson Wentz, like Sam Darnold, their value is still pretty high, especially if they can get anything more than a first-round pick for Carson Wentz. That is going to be a good sign for what the Jets can get for Sam Darnold. It's not the same as the Stafford trade because Stafford, number one, is older, so it's different. Number two, the Jared Goff piece with his contract and all that muddies the water. It's not as clear as it's just looking at the draft value for the quarterback himself. It's not. There's more to it than that, especially when the coach wants to bite everybody's kneecaps and all that. It's just a little bit crazy, a little bit sticky over there in Detroit. Jared Goff trying to pretend he's happy about the Detroit trade. Yeah, everybody's happy to move from Los Angeles, Southern California, to the tropical environment of Detroit, Michigan. With all due respect, Detroit, but still. So, what does that do for Sam Darnold? Now, Sam Darnold is going to he's going to garner interest from the same teams as are interested in Carson Wentz. It's similar. It's a similar type of thing. Doesn't mean that those exact teams are going to offer the same thing for Sam or what have you, but the Colts are one of the main landing spots for Sam Darnold. Now they pick, let's take a look here for the Colts. Where are they? They pick 21st overall. So that is a later first round pick. It's toward the front of where Sam Darnold's value could possibly be. I struggle to think that it would be any more than that. But if the Colts are into giving up a first-round pick for a quarterback, that would be because they don't see any of the quarterbacks in this class making it to 21. So when you got guys like Trevor Lawrence, who's going first overall, more than likely, you have Justin Fields, you have Zach Wilson, you have Trey Lance as the top group of quarterbacks in this year's draft. Now, if the Colts are at 21 and they want a quarterback, they're looking at Carson Wentz. If the Eagles hold a 2 first, they're saying, go pound salt. I'm not giving you 2 firsts for that guy. And then they turn their attention to Sam Darnold. I would be blown away if Joe Douglas is thinking he can get 2 firsts for Sam Darnold. So they're saying, hey, we'll take a first-round pick. The Colts might be inclined just to go and give the 21st pick to the Jets because they don't think they're going to get a quarterback with that much upside. Let's not forget, Sam is like the same age. He might be a year older than the guys coming out this year in most instances. Sam is one of the younger quarterbacks in the league still to this day, and he's coming in with 3 years of experience. A lot of it being bad experience, which can be just as beneficial as positive experience. Going through the bad times somewhere else and then coming over, Frank Reich and his organization are going to be a lot more keyed in on how to groom a quarterback than fucking Adam Gase and Jeremy Bates, the woodsman. So anyway, that would be a good move. And that's why they would give up 21. Now, don't forget, the Colts last year gave their first-round pick for DeForest Buckner, which I thought was a terrible move at the time. But Buckner had a very good year for the Colts. So they're not afraid to give away their pick if they don't think that the level of talent where they're picking is going to match the player that they need. Now, Frank Reich taking on Sam Darnold is just as risky as taking like a Mac Jones or somebody like that at the back end of the draft. In truth, it's probably less risky because, again, Sam has the NFL experience, went through all the bad times, and he still maintained his professionalism and his team-first attitude and all that. Sam's a damn good player as far as his personality is concerned. He's about as good of a teammate as you could ask for. So that's the Colts. They pick at 21. Another team rumored to be interested in Sam Darnold is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers are picking at 24 overall. Same story. Last year, they traded their first-round pick for the safety. What the hell's his name? Minkah Fitzpatrick. Sorry about that. I just fried out. So they traded their first for Minkah Fitzpatrick, And look how that worked out. Minkah Fitzpatrick was one of the better DBs in the league last year, and it worked out well for them. So they're not afraid to use their draft capital for a player that they want. The last 5 years, the Pittsburgh Steelers took defense too. So switching over to offense now that Big Ben is getting older, it would be a perfect situation for Sam Darnold. Number one, the Steelers are just known for player development. I don't think there's a better organization in the NFL over the past 20, 30 years that has been able to develop guys like the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they have that whole infrastructure in place. And Sam would come over there and be able to sit behind Ben Roethlisberger for a year. There were comparisons to Sam Darnold and his playing style to Ben Roethlisberger. So it would seem like a natural fit for Sam to cool it off, take a minute, sit behind Ben Roethlisberger for a season, learn behind him, develop, take the stress of the season off of him and all that sort of stuff, not being a starter, and then be groomed to take over the next year or even 2 years. It seems perfect. So who are the Steelers going to get at pick 24? They're not going to get, obviously, Trevor Lawrence. They're not going to get Fields. They're not going to get Wilson. They're more than likely not going to get Lance. And by 24, there is a good indication that Mac Jones might even be taken before that as well. So, but even if he does, Mac Jones is a risky pick, probably more risky than Sam Darnold. So that's another one. So who's another team interested? The New Orleans Saints. Now we're getting into where I see a more realistic potential. Like I would be very happy with the Steelers or the Colts because that's higher than I thought Sam Darnold's value was going to be. But we have the New Orleans Saints picking at 28th overall. Drew Brees is more than likely retiring. At minimum, he's considering it. If he comes in for one more year, Sam Darnold is the absolute perfect person to go to New Orleans. Number one, you have Sean Payton and his whole offensive system. Very quarterback friendly. Lots of top-tier players around them. Just, again, the infrastructure there is top-notch. So they're going to know, if they're looking at Sam Darnold, they're going to know if they like him, they know what they can do with him. They know how poorly mismanaged Sam Darnold has been. It's a travesty, and we all know that. Sam Darnold being 23 years old, I believe he'll be 24 when the season starts. It's more than enough time left on his career, and he's early enough in his career to warrant the idea that he can still be molded into what you want to develop. So the Saints are picking 28. It's a decent option. Now, here's the sneaky one. And this one interests me so much. I would be blown away. It's the Washington football team at pick 19. Now, if you're looking at the Washington football team, it's a similar scenario where Sam Darnold more than likely wouldn't have to come in and start. They have Alex Smith over there. Alex Smith is not the long-term answer, most likely. But so Sam Darnold could go over there and sit behind him for a few minutes and kind of learn and rest. I'm a firm believer that if Sam Darnold gets taken and starts right away, you're going to see more of the same. I think he needs at least half a season to sit down, calm down, work on your mechanics, take the stress of starting in the NFL off of his plate and let him work for an extended period of time. In my opinion, it should be at least a season, but at least if it's 8 games or so, let him rest, let him learn, let him work, and let him cool off, man. So Washington can provide him that. You have Ron Rivera there, a very strong coach in the NFL, building a strong regime. I think if they, once again, think that none of the quarterbacks that they want are going to make it to 19, it justifies it. Now, maybe you have to throw in a 5th-round pick. Maybe you have to throw in a 4th-round pick to get that to happen. So you give Sam Darnold and a 5th to Washington for their 1st overall. It makes sense, especially if you're valuing Sam Darnold as a late 1st-round pick. So let's say you value Sam Darnold at 28. So that's 660 points. The pick 19 is at 875, so you have to find 215 points, which is really, it's looking like a 3rd-round pick, mid-3rd round, but you can work around that. So it's looking like pick 75 is 215, and that depends on where you value Sam. If you value him at pick 26, that's out the window and you're into the 4th round. So, but you see what I'm saying? It's around there. You can give them an extra little something, maybe even throw in a player, who knows, and get that deal done. That would be fascinating to me. Now, here, I'm just going to touch on this one. There was a little tiny whisper that the Carolina Panthers at pick 8 might be interested in Sam Darnold. Matt Rule was going to take the Jets job 2 years ago. A lot of that was because Sam Darnold was such a young, just a clean piece of clay for Matt Rule to develop. He looked into Sam Darnold in some great detail before, knows what the last 2 years, the kid didn't even have a coach. He didn't even have a coach. Dowell Loggins was not an offensive coordinator. Adam Gase was not a quarterback guru, whisperer, any of that baloney. And we didn't have a quarterback coach to supplement any of that, any of those deficiencies over there. So Matt Rule knows a lot about Sam Darnold. Now, and he clearly liked him because he was going to take the job. Now, I would think that we're not going to do Sam Darnold for pick 8 overall straight up. You'd probably have to throw in one of your 3rd round picks for sure. Probably the Jets 3rd. But wouldn't you do that? Would you take Sam Darnold and pick, where are we? Pick 66? You take Sam Darnold and pick 66, give it to the Panthers, and from their side, they're saying we were going to take a quarterback at pick 8 anyway. I already know more about Sam than I do about these guys, and I think he's got more potential than, Trey Lance or what have you. So I could get a quarterback and a 3rd round pick, an early 3rd at that. That's the 2nd pick in the 3rd round. It's a 2nd pick in the 3rd round, so there's value there. So from Matt Rule's perspective, he could be looking at it like, I'm going to take a quarterback I happen to like and get a 3rd round as a bonus. So it makes sense. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's realistic. But this is the stuff that I'm hearing is being worked on, is being considered. Now, wouldn't you be blown away if we take Sam Darnold in a 3rd round pick and send it to the Panthers for pick 8 overall? That would give us 2, 8, 23 and 34, 66, 86. Dude, now we're talking. And that's aside from the Deshaun Watson thing, which whatever that is, I'll leave that for another video. This one's already way longer than I thought. I thought it was going to be a short video. But anyway, that's what you have. What do you guys think? You think anything what I presented today is actually real? You think one's more likely than the other? You want to keep Sam? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget, like and subscribe, and go Jets.